Ashely Nicole Moss, you've processed last night. Been a bunch of dudes talking about this today. So enlighten us. What do you think?
I'm from the school of don't start none, won't be none. So
You're from New York.
right. So
Why, Michael? We should not be surprised. we know
I'm,
Ashley's from New York.
I'm from the don't start none, won't be none. And I know me, everyone has trigger points. I know for me, my family is a trigger point. And I think that when you sign up for a certain life, right, as we know, as people on television and in the media, you kind of put yourself in the line of fire when it comes to being talked crazy about on the internet and people saying what they want to say to you and being able to feel like they can disrespect you. And a lot of the times you can't respond because it's just you're representing a company, you're representing a brand, that brand being yourself. There's a lot of, details that go into why you can't respond, right? But your family doesn't sign up for that. And I know me, I'm fiercely protective of the people closest to me. And I've never been married, so I can only relate it to like my parents. Had someone said something crazy about something that was a sensitive subject to one of my loved ones, my mother or my father, I probably would have reacted in a similar way. Maybe not walked up on stage. I probably would have pressed the person like at commercial break or backstage or whatever the case may be. But regardless of whether or not you agree with how he handled it, I feel like Will Smith had every right to defend the woman that he loves, defend the mother of his children, defend his wife. And I think really what this came down to is he caught the right one on the wrong day. And what I mean by that is I don't really think the joke itself is what pushed Will over the edge. I think what it was just buildup of constantly being the butt of jokes, whether it's from Chris Rock, other comedians, social media, television shows, whatever the case may be, it's a buildup. And Chris Rock just caught the right one on the wrong day. And I think that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, but not there. I mean, it's not there. I'm sorry. I'm not feeling that defense. But let me ask you this. Because we can go back
you said
and
not
forth.
there. You talk. It's the setting has a lot to just to make sure I'm clear. Now we've been talking. It's the setting more so for you than anything.
Well, no, I think it's the act. It was an act of violence, and so not there, not anywhere. You shouldn't. I mean, just don't do that. Don't do that. But okay, we can go back and forth on this. We have. I'm going to ask you. This. I'm going to go to the next stage, and that is: do you think that he should lose his Oscar because of his behavior?
I think there's a long list of people who should lose their Oscars before Will Smith. I think that, was a slap the most classy thing to do? No. Was it assault in the eyes of the law? Yeah. But are there worse things that have transpired with Oscar winners than a slap across the face for somebody making a joke about his wife's appearance resulting in her health? Absolutely. So if we're going to go ahead and set that precedent, cool. But there's a bunch of people that you need to investigate and take away their Oscars before you get to Will Smith. If we're gonna do that, sure, take it away. But you can't start at Z. You got to start at A. That's my philosophy.
Okay, so you think that's fine. But just to be clear, so you think he should lose it? And maybe we go on to others.
No. I personally
don't think he should lose
something. I don't think that it is worth. First of all, losing an Oscar doesn't make sense to me because we saw him win it. So, it's not like we're going it back in time. It was the Men in Black eraser. Like, you're not going to erase my memory. We know you won it.
NCAA does it all the time. Hey, we're going to vacate your Final Four, even though we watched it.
It doesn't make any sense.
I don't think you should lose it either.
I don't think it's a transgression that should result in losing an Oscar. Was it the best thing for him to do? No, because now we're not talking about the fact that he's the second Black man to win this award. We're talking about him slapping Chris Rock in the face. I don't know if it's a big enough deal to remove an award from somebody. I don't think so now.
Yeah, and that's part of the most devastating thing is seeing these two icons, seeing these two brothers go at it. But Sidney Poitier, just passed away. We just lost him. So in the same year we lost Sidney Poitier, Denzel Washington, Jamie Foxx, Forrest Whitaker, and now Will Smith. Actually, I want to go back to something earlier that you said that was interesting. Just from again, a woman's point of view when it comes to the subject of men, quote unquote, protecting their women. As you know, and this last night being an example that some would call toxic masculinity. I'm not one of those people in this instance, but I love to be educated more on it because, like I told Michael earlier, maybe I'm just not enlightened enough. Maybe I haven't evolved and matured enough. But I understand the code of, if you talk about somebody's wife in the wrong way, you may get slapped. So while Will Smith, I wish he would not have done it, to quote Chris Rock, I ain't saying he should have done it, but I understand. People have been slapped for less. But I do wonder from a woman's perspective, you referenced it earlier, like he's protecting, quote unquote, the mother of his children, his wife. Like, you being, I guess from your vantage point, how do you balance that? Is that, do you appreciate that in a man? And what is that line between a man defending, the woman that he loves, but it bleeding over into toxic masculinity? Do you understand what I'm asking, Michael? Am I making sense? Like, I'm trying to, how do you view that boundary, if you will?
I think in this situation, Will Smith's reaction didn't put Jada in the line of fire, right? It didn't put her in danger. At the end of the day, a brawl wasn't going to break out at the Oscars. Chris Rock, 99.9% sure, which is ultimately what happened, wasn't going to press charges. It's not like it was a street fight. Again, it wasn't the best location to do it, but you can't tell a grown man how and when to react when it comes to his family and his wife. That's not my place. That's really not anybody's place to say, because like you said, people get slapped for less. I've seen worse fights at the gas station over like a pump. You know what I mean? It's we've seen worse. So I will say that as long as you're not putting the person that you love or you're protecting in the line of danger, I don't see an issue with defending your wife. I don't see an issue with defending your daughter. I don't see an issue defending your mother. I don't see an issue defending anybody in your family, especially women, especially Black women. We are rather a demographic that is constantly disrespected in one way, shape, or form. And the fact that this was a joke that was so sensitive, because it's not just, Jada came in with a terrible hairstyle and Chris Rock was making fun of it and, whatever, she'll fix it tomorrow and tomorrow she'll have a different hair. This is tied to her health. So it's obviously a very sensitive subject. And as a woman, you have a lot of pride in your hair. You know what I mean? To go through the process of losing your hair, and not by choice, not shaving your head by choice because you don't have any other option, it messes with your femininity. It makes you feel like you're not as beautiful. It's a sensitive subject. And she probably was very uncomfortable. It's different than like, had they gone to a comedy show, and you pay a ticket. Sometimes, at the end of the day, you're in a comedy show, what you signed up for. This was the Oscars. Her husband was nominated. They didn't go there to be the butt of a joke. And I know some people say it's just a joke, but it's not a joke when it hits home. And you can say that with a lot of situations. And we've seen that with a lot of things. Sometimes race jokes go too far. Sometimes jokes about your family members go too far. And this time for them, they felt it went too far.
Let me say this. You're right. We know this. We know that a lot of women, particularly women of color, are very sensitive about their hairstyles, length of hair. Let me just say this. It hasn't been said on this show today. Jada Pinkett Smith is a beautiful woman. She is. She can wear her hair any kind of way. I'm saying, but like here on this show today,
it has
she's
been,
beautiful.
Yes. You're absolutely beautiful. Right. Yes.
Whether her hair is
and
long,
bald looks, or by the way,
yeah.
alopecia or not, Michael, that's a sexy look on a lot of women. I mean, I don't even know why that's like why is that
and for the
insult?
Same reason,
exactly.
And for the same reason, we've seen one of our congresswomen here from Massachusetts, Ayanna Pressley, same thing. Yeah. Lost her hair, is bald, not even a little bit, but completely bald, but gorgeous. But I would say, Ashely, because of what you described, you said, it's not like it was a street fight. It wasn't this. It wasn't that. There was no violence coming. It was no physical danger to Jada Pinkett Smith. That's why I have such a reaction about Will Smith taking it there. See, our hypothetical examples are, hey, if somebody's coming up on your wife, if somebody's putting you in danger, if somebody's acting some kind of way, you are well within your right as someone who loves them to respond. But that didn't happen last night. That wasn't it. His response was not commensurate with
attack.
I think that's the difference in this argument, right? We find justification in somebody running up on your wife or saying something crazy in the street, right? And not a fancy setting and not a civilized setting. And we don't see an issue with defending them in that space, right? But
I don't like it at all. Just to be on the record, I don't like it at all.
But some people would make a justification for that. But why does the setting dictate the innate or the just, instinctual, desire to protect your family? Like the setting shouldn't matter. What happened, if you are against that action in general, whether it was at IKEA, whether it was at the gas station, whether it was in the club, or whether it was at the Oscars, you should be against it across the board. But people will pick and choose when the scenario to defend your loved one is okay and when it's not okay. Had this happened in the club, nobody would feel the type of way about it. People would be sharing the video on social media and saying, oh, he got what was coming to him and he's lucky that da-da-da. But because it's the Oscars and there's a prestige and there were cameras on and there was gowns and it's this, luxurious, just old Hollywood thing, people have a different expectation for it. But that is, in a sense, somewhat hypocritical, because what's good for the goose should be good for the gander.
Thank you, Ashely. You are always good for this show. And another thing? We have airtight definitions of physical assault. It was an emotional attack. And that's more subjective because it wasn't that bad. Who are we to say what was bad in their household?
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Ashely. We appreciate you.
Yeah. I just can't go there. I'm having a hard time with that. Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.